Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. My name is Jemma, and this week I have back with me Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk. How are you this week?
Hey, happy to be here, as always.
Good to have you on the show. And this week we're going to run through a little bit of news as well as give a lot of time to the games we're playing this week. There's just so much out there. We don't often get time to talk about all these games, so this week we're going to dedicate a bit more time to that. One thing I did want to highlight at the very beginning of the show is that we are now, as of airing of this show, 11 days out from the Tears of the Kingdom game, which is, I think, maybe going to be Game of the Year. I don't know. It's like everyone's talking about it. It's this huge event.
It's foregone conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. So 11 days, it seems, we've been talking about this for months and months and months, and now it's under 2 weeks. So it's very, very close. And we were talking just offline as a team recently, and and I know Kirk, you and I spoke last week briefly about what our plans are in terms of getting controllers, which I still haven't pre-ordered, and getting different versions of the game. And our esteemed leader Justin is getting 2 copies of the game so that he and his wife can both play it at the same time, which I think is really cool. And I think you mentioned you were having the day off to play.
Yes, right? I do tend to take days off for certain releases, not all of them, of course, and if I can time it right. But yeah, I have this one on order, and I'll be able to pick it up at 10 a.m. on the Friday when it comes out. So I'll probably work a bit that morning. I work from home anyway, so it's easy to do. And then I am off to pick it up, come home, and get as far as I can before my oldest son, Sam, gets home from school and tries to take over the Switch for the rest of the night.
Will he be taking over Zelda? Like, will he take that game over?
Yes. Yeah, yes. Okay. He is very much looking forward to this game.
Excellent.
And he played through, when we did the first one, we were kind of running neck and neck for a while. And then he got ahead of me and had to help me with a couple of the boss battles with certain tips. So that's nice. The benefit to that is I've got my own built-in walkthrough.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love that. I think it'll just be me. My kids might watch me, but I don't think they'll be playing it. So, yeah, that's cool though. Hopefully they've been inspired by watching me, especially Skyward Sword, actually. They were really, really interested in watching me do that. And in fact, my son, my eldest, who's only just turned 12, he was probably 10 or 11 at the time, because I was playing it relatively recently. He helped me with a boss battle, actually, which is cool. Like, I didn't need help, but I just happened to be up, and he got up and he couldn't sleep. And he's like, oh, can I have a go? And so he had a go, and we were running through it together. It was super fun. I do love that. And it reminds me of the very, 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 very first Legend of Zelda title that I played with my mum. I was like a little kid. It was my first introduction to gaming, and she and I played through together. And of course, I had no idea, but we worked through it together, and it was so fun. So I do love that kind of family connection, I suppose, that bonding experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I never got that with my parents. They were, video games were kids' things back then. So we had our system upstairs. We'd sometimes bring them up. Like, my mom was a surgical nurse, and we had a game called Microsurgeon for the Intellivision.
Wow.
And we thought, oh, mom's going to love this. It's her work. And no, she just had no interest. But they were always good to let us get the games and play the games. They weren't the type of parents back then who believed that video games were destroying our brains and our ability to have children down the road or whatever crazy things people were shouting out back then. So,
that's true. And it's changed. I guess it has changed. I mean, yes, my mum, I did play with her, and she was pretty cool. But I think you're right. Back in like the 80s and maybe 90s, parents didn't play as much. And now they do, like we do. Obviously, we're parents and we've grown up with it. There's no way we're not playing. So, yeah, it's interesting. Hey. So that'll be cool. So I'm really looking forward to that. And this week I definitely have to order that controller. I'm just waiting for my next paycheck to come in.
Oh, yeah. You got to make sure you have it when the game arrives. It's got to be plugged in, ready to go.
I know, right? Yes. The cool thing is for me, because I'm in Australia, I'm a little bit ahead of you. So technically I'm going to be playing before you. So
oh, yeah. All right.
So I'll try
There's not like a day release or anything there, so it comes out at the same time?
No, games tend to come out here on Fridays as well, but my Friday is your Thursday, so
well, enjoy.
I will have it slightly ahead.
Yeah, let me know if there's anything I need to know.
I will, but I'll avoid spoilers. Yeah, so that's super cool. The other thing, a couple other news items this week, And one of them is the fact that there's some new Lego sets that have been announced, which are Donkey Kong themed, which is a bit of a, I don't know, out of nowhere kind of thing. Wasn't expecting this. I suppose it makes sense with the new Mario movie out, doing so well, and Donkey Kong being one of the main characters. Have you seen this? Have you seen these new sets?
I
Or
have
heard of them?
not, and I am surprised because I didn't think that anybody was doing anything with those anymore. I haven't seen them promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess before the movie, maybe before the movie, when I went to see it, it was promoted there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
True.
but yeah, I don't. If they mentioned Donkey Kong, I made no note of it at the time. I was too excited for the movie, couldn't be bothered
Yeah,
with
true,
that.
true. Well, this has just been announced like last week, this sort of
Okay,
very late last week. So, and they're not out yet. They're not out until August, which I think tends to be Mario. Oh, sorry, Nintendo. Oh gosh, not Nintendo, not Mario. Lego's release window. They have new sets come out in I think January and then August. I think are their two
okay,
main periods of time. The Mario one seemed to come out in August. This appears to be another extension of the existing sets. So we've already got Mario, Luigi, and Peach. This is now the Kong extension. I don't think they're playable from what I've read briefly. I think they're just like Mario or Luigi or Peach can interact with the Kongs. You can give them bananas and I think other gift swapping abilities. I think Mario can even ride on Donkey Kong's back, which is a little strange, I
oh
think.
well, it goes against character, yes, but all right.
Sure, why not? And I think there's also the cool thing that I like about it is from Donkey Kong Country, there are the little rideable animals, like,
Yeah,
is it Rambi the rhino? I think he's one of them, which I
I
think is
think
super
so.
cool. Yeah. Anyway, I love that. I think they're really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm surprised also. I guess they're trying to continually breathe life into the series. I don't know how well they're selling. We went pretty crazy originally and bought all the original Mario ones. I don't think we've got Luigi or Peach. Yeah, so it's a little bit fallen by the wayside. It's a cool idea, and I get it, and it's fun and interactive, but it's different. Like my son, I've mentioned many times, he is a huge Lego fan, and we have many, many sets of Star Wars and City Lego and all the rest. But the Mario ones are a bit different because you don't necessarily build them to display them, or yeah, and even the way you play with them, it's very different because you have to turn them on and you jump around and collect coins, and it's really cute and really cool and different and fun. But it's just maybe it's more for younger audiences. I don't know, not sure.
Yeah, we bought a set. I think it was for Sam a while back, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really get into it that much. And I think my thought was that it was in this kind of like no man's land between, like you mentioned, just a regular Lego set where you build it and you put it on display, or a true interactive. There are things to do and things to accomplish kind of
Mm-hmm.
interactive toy. It had interactive elements, but like no real goals or anything. So you're
Mm-hmm.
playing with it like you would regular Legos, but it feels like it should be doing something more. And I think that's why
Mm-hmm.
he didn't quite, stick with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you can collect coins, you can jump on enemies. There's a flagpole at the end, and it's trying to emulate a Mario level, and it does, but it's a different way of playing Lego. I think when I see
Yeah.
my kids playing Lego with little Star Wars characters, it's an ongoing session. Excuse me. I do have a little bit of a cold this week, so I have to apologize for my voice. But yeah, it's a very different way of playing. I mean, I'm glad they tried it, and I think, yeah, like I said, when it first was announced, we were so excited. Like we went to the Lego shop straight away, and I'm like, yes, let's buy all of these things. So, but I guess I didn't. I sort of assumed they'd be more displayable, and you can
Hmm.
display them, but it's some of them display better than others, like the Bowser airship. That looks really cool. Other ones that are more flat level designs, with more like almost like a maze, really. You need a lot of room to put that out, and it's not going to look great on a shelf because it's not a big piece. Anyway, I think it's still a cool idea, and I hope people are having fun with it. The other news item that I thought was interesting that I wanted to briefly mention was that Gamescom 2023, which is happening in Germany this August, Nintendo has announced that they will be attending. And we've been talking a bit about conferences lately with E3 being cancelled and other things, Nintendo doing its own live event. What do you think about this? I don't know a whole lot about Gamescom, but apparently it's been running over COVID. It's just been virtual events. I think last year was a mix of virtual and in person. This year is in person again. But Nintendo hasn't been there since 2019, which is interesting. What do you think about that?
I guess I have a couple thoughts. My first is, Nintendo said when they decided not to go to E3 that that just the timing was off and they're not against the idea and they'll, consider it each year. So maybe this is a good sign that that's actually true. They considered Gamescom. It made sense to do it at the time. E3 didn't. So that's what they picked. My second thought is that probably because, I like you said, I've never been to Gamescom, so I don't have a very strong knowledge of the setup. But it could be that it's just more economically feasible. It's cheaper. I know LA is very expensive. The E3 is a very expensive event to attend, especially on the scale that Nintendo would need. So maybe they still like the ideas of doing shows, but just don't want to, break the bank with it. But my final thought, and this is what I'm hoping, is that by August, they're going to have something really big to announce and they want to get it in front of people. So the timing may have been off with June as far as something, or the always elusive Switch 2 or Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's coming. So I'm excited that they're doing it because I think it means something's on the way. So that's really going to be my focus on that.
Yeah, I agree. It does sound that way. And I think I've read similar thoughts online. So yes, exactly right. They have said that the timing wasn't right for E3. June was a bit of a weird time for Nintendo because Tears of the Kingdom's already out. We know Pikmin 4 is coming out shortly after. I think it's July. So August, those two games are already out. So what are they promoting? We've said several times on the show, we don't really know a lot about the second half of the year. This is a really good opportunity for them to show something cool off, whether it's a console or a game, whatever it might be. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is a really good sign for that. So I think it's exciting news. And also, just like you said, it's good to see that Nintendo is still in the market for these kinds of events. It's not that they're, saying no to events like E3. It's literally that the timing didn't work for them. So they're still in the game. They're still, making a presence and reaching out to fans in various ways. So can't wait to see what happens in August. That's a few months away, but we'll obviously know more then, or maybe a little bit more before then. So that's really cool. So that's all the news for the week. So now let's move on to games. We've got plenty of time to discuss our games of the week in detail. And Kirk, we'll start with you because last week we did touch on the fact that Xenoblade 3 DLC was coming out during last week, and that's obviously happened. How are you going with that? Have you had much time to play it, and are you enjoying it?
Am I enjoying it? Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, it was unfortunately for me, a busy week that they released it, so I'm not as far into it as I would have expected to be at this point. But yeah, I know for one reason or another where I am here in Eastern daylight time at this point in the U.S., the games always come out at 9 p.m. I'll sit there and just refresh the download. Is there a download available or an update available, just over and over. Then finally it clicks downloads and I get it. So I started playing it, when it came out. Boy, it's fantastic.
Cool.
It's full of nostalgia for anybody who's played the games. I'm not going to get too far into it, but some of the locations we revisit, we get a lot of memories of characters. A lot of the previous characters are actually in the game. It's not a secret that both Rex and Shulk that we've discussed have come back and they're buddies and they've got this little group of people that ties into the main narrative with the main characters. I mentioned before, last week I talked about how I hope the battle system was different and we could start from scratch because it was so hard for me to get back into the setups that I had before and who my best party was and the different people to pair them off with to make sure that I'm able to beat the top monsters. And it does. Of course, you start from scratch. It has new battle elements that I think are absolutely fantastic. There are are. And it seems to me that it's a bit easier, but it could be because I'm just so knowledgeable with how these games work now, which sounds like I'm bragging. I don't think I'm bragging. It's just I've played so many of them that
you spend a lot of time in these worlds.
and yeah. So they with the like the mythical beasts that are scattered about, I've had an easier time fighting them. And one of the things I really like about the DLC, these like extra chapters that they release at the end of the games, with the Xenoblade Chronicles games, when you get it, you know it's a huge adventure with a ton of side quests, and you're going to be playing it for anywhere from 75 to 150 hours. You can just sink so much time into it. So when you're going along, you don't want to stop and explore everything so much or fight all the enemies that you face along the way, because there's so much to get through. You just want to get through it. And in this one, I know they said the story's about 20 hours. Maybe it takes 40 hours to finish the whole thing. And knowing that, I'm purposely taking my time with everything. I'm fighting everybody. I'm trying to collect every little thing that I can. Ooh, and they brought back the Collectopedia from the first Xenoblade Chronicles game, which was one of my favorite things to do, where as you find the various collectibles along the way, there are multiple things to do with them, but one of them is you add them to your Collectopedia, and then once you fill it up for each location, then you get bonuses, and that's back for the first time, if I remember correctly, from the Xenoblade Chronicles game. So certain elements like that are appealing to everybody along the way. The story's fantastic. The acting is fantastic. I'm absolutely thrilled with it, and I'm going to be sad when I'm done, because this, from what I understand, will effectively close this entire series. And then we're on to whatever's next.
Wow. By closing the entire series, do you mean there's not Xenoblade 4? Like, that's not a thing that's ever going to...
I'm assuming that there will be another game, because they're so huge. They've got to do something. But these, like Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, have all been tied together by this overarching story. It didn't seem like it at first, but as you move along, you see what the connections are. So it could be when they could very easily just do something else within this universe. Of course, there's always room to expand on it. But I expect them to start a whole new chapter, same style gameplay kind of thing, but going a different direction. And it could be like when Xenoblade Chronicles, do we call it 10 or X, came out for the Wii U. Was the same style gameplay, but didn't really fit into anything else. It was different enough with its focus on mech and building these like giant battle robots. So maybe they'll end up making a sequel to that, or pushing something along those lines. So there's room for them to create more games or a whole new series that isn't really part of it. And honestly, what we're doing now with the stories has gotten pretty convoluted in a way that makes perfect sense. That's not an insult. But I can't imagine that heaping more on top of this particular story arc is a good idea. Best to just leave it alone, as sad as that is, and then move on with all new characters and an all new universe and see where that takes us.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's really cool. It makes me want to explore a lot more. I have not played all of the games in the series. I have played Xenoblade Chronicles 3, not the DLC, and I haven't even finished Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because, as you say, it is whopping.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
It is a commitment, yes. I will dip in and out, but then I do sometimes tend to forget things like, where am I again? What am I doing here? So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what's next for the series. And I'm really glad you're enjoying the DLC. This is the final wave of DLC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
This wraps up 3 until we're all ready to start, although I'm certain many people have the New Game Plus, where you get to carry over a lot of things from the previous game, and it makes it much easier.
Oh, cool.
But and maybe I'll do that. Maybe there will come a point, if they don't release anything new for a while, I'll just tear through all 3 of them in 1 year, start in January and end in December, and see how far I get.
Yeah, marathon. Why not?
Yeah.
That's so cool. So are you, are you reviewing this? Like, is it a review feature for us for Pure Nintendo?
I don't know, because I honestly don't think we've discussed it. I assume I will. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I assumed so too, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I got to add that to the queue.
Yeah. Well, sorry to give you more work there, but I mean, you're playing it
Well,
anyway.
it's
So.
yeah, it's not work to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles. In fact, I
True.
was talking with my son this morning while playing it that I'm starting to wonder if maybe it hasn't become my favorite franchise over top of Fire Emblem.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
big. That's big news
That's
for me. So
huge. That's breaking news. You heard it here first, folks.
yep.
It's been
Once I
toppled.
finish it, we'll see.
Cool. I look very much to hearing your final thoughts then. How many hours? You said it's like 20 to 40 hours. How far through do you think you are at the moment?
I think I just hit 11, so I'm
Okay.
not too far at all. Yeah, a little
Yeah, okay.
over halfway, probably.
Yep, cool. Okay. Awesome. That's really cool. I hope listeners are enjoying the DLC themselves, those who are fans of Xenoblade. Now, this week we saw what I wanted to mention as an interesting little title that came out because it's a free title and it's called Amiga Strikers. It's not something I've heard of before, so I don't know if it's a franchise or a series or whatever. I did give it a try just because I thought it looked interesting and fun, and also it's free, so why not? I thought it was I read the word brawler and I thought it was a fighting game, like a Smash Brothers kind of thing. It's not. It's a foot brawler, they're calling it. And I missed the word foot in there. So it's kind of like soccer, I guess, or football if you're from Europe. And it's 3v3. So it's 3 players versus 3 players. It's all online, so you just kind of get matched with different people. I haven't tried multiplayer yet. I assume you can do local multiplayer online as well, but I don't know. And you choose your little character. It's very anime-esque, actually. Your character looks pretty well designed in an anime style, which I really like. And you have like it's not really a ball, it's more like a disc, I think. Like it's pretty futuristic-y looking, neon-y kind of thing with lights everywhere. And but the premise is the same as football or soccer, that you're trying to get this disc into the goal of the other team. It's pretty fun and it's pretty fast. I want to say it reminds me of Pokemon Unite in a sense, but it's not as big as those games. I don't know if you've played that, Kirk, Pokemon Unite at all.
I have not.
No. That is really fun, by the way. If you haven't played that, go play that. It is free also with Pokemon that you can. There's obviously you can pay for things within the game if you really want to. I think in Pokemon Unite you can unlock different characters and costumes for your characters, etc. I don't know what you pay for in Omega Strikers. I haven't got that far down the path yet, but it's probably characters and costumes for your avatar and stuff like that. But essentially, the arena is a lot smaller than Pokemon Unite. You're not in this sort of sparse area that you can wander around and score goals. This is more like a football pitch, I guess, like Mario Strikers, but not even that big. It's one screen's worth. You don't kind of go back and forth between the goals. It's very much, you know what? It's kind of like hockey, maybe like that tabletop hockey. What do you call it? Air hockey?
Yes, air hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of has that kind of feel to it because it is like this floating disc. It's kind of almost a rectangular shape, and it's big enough to fit onto a screen. So yeah, the battles seem pretty competitive. I've only played a couple. I won though, which I was really surprised at.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, go team. I wanted to high five them, but they were virtual. They were somewhere. I don't even know where they're from. Somewhere else in the world.
There's no like little emoticon or something you can tap to
probably.
do a
I couldn't
virtual
see
high five.
anything. I'm like, oh, I really wanted. Yeah, I wanted to do that. What I noticed at the end of each goal was that the 3 players, like you and the 2 players of your team, tend to gather towards your goal and run around little circles, almost like you are high fiving each other. So I just did that, and that was, I hope, a virtual high five. I don't know. But yeah, I would say it's pretty fun if you like joining these online kind of sporty matches that are futuristic and anime-esque. And it is free, so why not give it a go? So that's Amiga Strikers. That's available now. That came out last week. Another, I guess, not a new game, but an update to an existing game. And this one's one of Nintendo's mobile games, which we don't talk about too often. And that's Mario Kart Tour. I did notice in the eShop roundup that I do on the site that there's a new track, a new Athens track actually. And so I thought I'll jump online. I haven't played Mario Kart Tour for a little while. I used to be quite into it a couple of years ago, and then just, I don't know, I haven't. So I jumped back in, did the update, and checked out the new Athens track, which is really cool. I hope it makes its way to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in some of the DLC that's coming up, because as we all know, the tour tracks are part of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe now, which I love, because a lot of people won't have played them. And the cities that we've seen so far, like Paris and Sydney, Singapore, now we've got a new one, which is Athens. And it's really cool. You can probably imagine what Athens is like. It's very column-esque. There's big columns in the background, old ancient ruins and things like that. It's really cool. A lot of fun. And I won that race too after, you're not playing for a good 2 years or so. I haven't lost the Mario Kart Tour edge because it's a different experience. And you said before the show you haven't. I don't think you played this game, right, Kirk? At all, or just not recently?
I haven't. I'm not one of those guys who's against mobile gaming, but it's rare that I seek out games for that. I have Fire Emblem Heroes. If we're talking about Nintendo mobile games, and I do log into that at least once a day. And
cool.
Do my collectibles. Oh, yeah, I've been very dedicated to it. But
nice.
No, I have not played Mario Kart Tour.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not a huge mobile gamer. I do tend to at least try the Nintendo ones. And I do have Fire Emblem Engage. Sorry, not Engage. Fire Emblem, what's it called?
Heroes,
Heroes. Fire Emblem Heroes. I do have that, and I did play it when it first came out. Haven't touched it for a couple of years either. I should get back into that because it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it hasn't. They've added a lot of things that you can safely ignore if you don't want to, and you can just play it however you want. There's more than enough to do in there when you log in each day. But
cool,
and I skip most of it.
Yeah. Okay. What's the things we're talking about? What are you skipping, and why?
Well, they have various. There's this whole. What's it called? Ascend or something like that. It's this kind of a multiplayer thing where you go in and set up defenses and then take on other people as they're coming in. I don't mess with basically anything that involves other people.
Right.
As antisocial as that sounds, I like my games to be just about me, so I don't have to be embarrassed. I would have not won Omega Strikers if I'd logged in and played it, for example, or Mario Kart Tour.
Fair enough. Okay.
But items like that, and then they cycle through different things that you could do each week. Like this week, we're going to focus on this aspect of it. And this week, we're going to run this. A whole bunch of names that escape me right now. But mainly, I log in and do my arena battles every day. And if there's items that you could do to get new people, play through to unlock characters or orbs, then I'll play through those kind of things.
Cool. You've kind of inspired me. I think I'm going to check it out again since I've just got back into Mario Kart. I'm going to try to stick with Mario Kart 2 because one of the things I love to do, and I think this is the same case with Heroes, is that you collect characters, right? Like you unlock characters along the way. Is this true of Fire Emblem?
Yes. Multiple. Yeah. You can summon new characters at any point. They're always releasing new ones. Yep.
Yeah, and I like to collect. I'm a bit of a collector file. I like to collect things. With Mario Kart Tour, there's just, there's all the Mario Kart characters, right? There's Mario, Luigi, etc., etc. Yep. And on top of that, there's variants to each of them. So, like with last week's update with the Athens track, they also released a new character for Toad. I mean, Toad's already there, but this is tourist Toad. So it's Toad with little sunglasses because he's touring Athens, I presume. But yeah, it's so cute.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's like Fire Emblem. They'll have one, like there are 5-6 different versions of Marth or Ike, put different costumes on them. You got to get the swimsuit editions and the bridal editions. I imagine they don't have swimsuit and bridal Yoshis.
Maybe I thought I saw someone driving around with a Mario that looked like he had a top hat, maybe from Odyssey. I don't know.
Oh, that's nice. That fits.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I need to check it out. There are just so many characters, and they're not hard to get exactly, but you need to collect. You need to do races and collect gems, and then you can unlock. Some of them become available to unlock, but only for a limited time. And you need, like, for example, okay, let me go back to the Toad example because this is the new one. And I said to myself, I'm going to unlock Toad and play Athens so I can talk about it in the podcast. And basically, I went to the screen where you can buy things from the shop, and Toad was there. And I'm like, cool, I'll buy Toad. But then, of course, there was a Daisy variant, a fairy Daisy, and Daisy's my favorite. And I'm like, oh, I only have enough gems for one. Can I buy Daisy or Toad and not both? It's a dilemma. And so I bought Daisy. because she's my favorite. So
Oh, sure,
yeah, I'm
that makes
sorry.
sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
All right,
Toad.
Team Daisy.
Yeah, exactly. She's my go-to in Mario Kart. So yeah, it's really fun. I'm going to try and play it a bit more often just because it's there and it's cool. And they do always update it. And even so, there's only the one new Athens track, but they do variants of the other tracks as well. So there's different versions of the Paris Promenade, different versions of I think it's the Berlin Byway or something. It's like a Germany-based one, and it is pretty fun. It's not. I would say it's not as hard as regular Mario Kart. Like you have to use it's touch controls, right? You're really just steering left and right. You can do hops and power slides and stuff, which is cool, and even flips and things like that. But essentially, you're always driving forward. You don't really need to accelerate, so that makes
Yeah,
it a slightly easier. But anyway, it's good fun.
like
It's all good.
one thumb control kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Which is yeah. I mean, I like it. I think I hope it's doing well. It's been out a few years now, and I know what was Dr. Mario was that was actually the only mobile game I religiously played. I would log into that every single day. I just really loved it. I thought it suited the mobile perfectly. I mean, we have games like what's that, Candy Crush and things like that are really
Hmm.
popular. Dr. Mario seemed like a perfect fit because it's a puzzle game. It's like falling blocks, I suppose, viruses, whatever, but it's falling blocks and it just made so much sense on the mobile. I can't believe it didn't do well. I even spent money on that game. I never spend money on mobile games, and I did spend money on that. So yeah, I was really bummed that disappeared. And yeah, oh well, it is what it is.
Well, that's one of the things about mobile games too. You do get
Yeah,
attached to a couple of them, and then suddenly you get
yeah,
that dreaded announcement when you log in, and
hmm
you've got 3 weeks left. Everything's
hmm
free, and then we're shutting it down.
yeah. I was really disappointed. Really, really disappointed. Anyway, sigh. Let's move on. So, one of the other games you're playing at the moment is Bayonetta Origins, and I know this is not a new game, but we're reviewing it, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
apparently had a bit of a hiccup with the review code, so we're getting on it a little late. But yeah, I've taken Bayonetta Origins,
hmm
Cereza, never remember how to pronounce it, and the Lost Demon,
hmm
and I'm enjoying it a lot,
Cool.
much more than I did Bayonetta 3. I
Right.
played and enjoyed Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. I especially love Bayonetta 2. I was a bit let
hmm
down by Bayonetta 3. You can check out our review if you want to find out why, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in line with most people on that game. And I think I'm not in line with this. I can't recall. I remember reading some reviews early on, and they were they were positive, but kind of like mid positive. And I'm
hmm
a bit bigger on it.
Cool.
Because it feels like an indie game that was developed by a company with a much bigger budget.
hmm
It plays like an indie game. It's kind of like a storybook fairy tale puzzle game kind of thing. In fact, I'm going to make an analogy here to something that I can't even remember the title of. I think I did the exact same thing last week. I'm bad with names. You'll have to forgive me. About 15 to 20 years ago, maybe, there was a TV show on, possibly on one of the PBS channels, where they would have celebrities read old fairy tales, and
hmm
they would animate it a little bit, not like a full cartoon, but kind of like, you see the image and the image moves, and it was like having a book read to you. I remember Denzel Washington reading The Legend of John Henry was one of my favorites.
Cool.
Anyway, that's a pointless way of saying that's how I feel about this game. It's set up so it looks like a storybook. It's very colorful and painterly, and the elements move in a ways kind of like as if they're being drawn out as you're walking along, or painted. And it's got a narration. And the cool thing about it is Cereza has her own voice actress. There's an actress playing that character. But
hmm
everything else, from what I've seen so far, is done by a narrator. And when the narrator has to do different characters, she reads, like, she changes her voice. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
someone who knows how to read a children's story is reading it to you.
Yeah.
And it's very well done. The acting is great, and for the most part, it's centered around puzzles where she's had a demon. She brought up a demon to protect her, and the demon ended up going inside of her stuffed animal, Cheshire. from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah, cool.
And she's able to use that either as she's holding it, it has certain powers, or she can let it out where it becomes really big and then it can fight. Sort of like how you controlled those large demons in Bayonetta 3, but on a much smaller scale. And so you're kind of like solving environmental puzzles along the way and getting into fights along the way. And it's just very entertaining. And it's this small little story about a girl who wants to go save her mother, and she wanders into this forest and is having this great adventure. And I think it's well done, and I'm very close to the end. I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to get the review up. But unless things go south in a hurry, it's going to get a very positive review from me.
Nice. That's really cool. What's the time frame for this in terms of hours, do you think?
It's not too long. That's maybe around, I'm trying to think of how much I put into it. I'd say maybe around like 15.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's decent. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I've played the demo because I wanted to check it out myself. I think I've mentioned this before. I've not played any Bayonetta game, to be honest, 1, 2, or 3. I just didn't really appeal to me, so I never checked it out. This one had such a different style. I thought it looked really cool. And yeah, the demo played really well. I love that storybook style. And it's funny you mentioned the way that the narrator reads, because that's super important, I think. And I still read to my youngest, just because we bond at night. We just read before bed, and it's really fun. And I love putting on the voices. I think I'm a good reader for stories. I like to think I am, but it makes a huge difference when you're playing a game and they do the same thing. There was one game I played last year, and the title has escaped me, but they did the same thing, and I mentioned it in my review that they put on the voices as if they're reading it properly. It's really, really cool. So it stands out to me as well. So I love that aspect.
Yeah. It really helps pull you into the whole thing.
Yeah, it does. It's more engaging. It's way more engaging. So that's really cool.
And when voice acting is not good, it really can throw me out of a game. Like I can't get into it at all if I'm having trouble with the way it's being presented to me.
Yes, there's nothing worse than having to turn down the volume on a game because of annoying voice work.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign. No, I don't like that. That's brilliant. Yeah, well, better late than never. I very much look forward to reading that review. I think it'll be
in a way. I'm kind of glad we had the issue with the with the review key, because someone else probably would have had it otherwise, and I'm glad it fell to me.
Yeah, that worked out well. Yep. There's been an error in your favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm playing a couple of other games, and one of those, these are my review titles now. So the first one is called Melon Journey, Bittersweet Memories. And this one, I believe, came out, I don't know actually when that one came out, sometime during April, pretty recently, like the last couple of weeks. And so I've been playing through it. It's really fun. It's actually a really, really great game. It's done first. The first thing you'll notice is the aesthetics. It's very much like a grayscale with green tinges. It's like a Game Boy. It looks like a Game Boy game. Let's say that.
Yeah, like an original Game Boy game.
Yeah, and it totally works. It's so cool in this retro style. But yeah, it's a top-down kind of looks like a Zelda game on a Game Boy system. It's not an RPG. It's more like a visual novel, actually. You're kind of just roaming this world and talking to different people and trying to find out what's going on. You can interact with various elements around you just by walking up to them and pressing a button, and you can talk to anyone in town. And they're all kind of animal-based, cute little creatures like hamsters and hedgehogs and puppies. There's rabbits. They're all very cute. But the game has a dark edge to it. It's not too mature. It's definitely okay for a younger audience, but it's definitely not what it looks like on the surface, which is a very cute game about animals in a little town talking to each other. There's a story there. There's something to uncover. And the title, which I always find a little confusing, Melon Journey. I don't know. I think Bittersweet Memories. I think this is the Switch version of the game is the Bittersweet Memories. I think Melon Journey was the original game.
Okay.
And it's all about melons, as in, well, I think watermelons. I don't know. Is that what you call melons in the US? Are they just watermelons?
Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
No
Okay.
matter what kind of melon it is, once you have it in front of you, you'll just refer to it as a melon because by then you know which one you have.
Cool. Well, the protagonist, she's working. Her name's Honeydew. You can change her name. I just kept it as Honeydew because I like the name. Named after a melon, I guess. It's Honeydew melons, right? And she works at a melon factory. They make this juice, some sort of melon-based cola. I think it's like a can of drink that's really, really popular. And she works in marketing, and she's coming up with a new logo. But she has the day off. She's going to meet some friends. There's 2 towns, and her town drinks this melon juice or drink, whatever it is, and then this other town, it's banned. It's banned over there. Melons are, you can't be caught with melon seeds. It's like illegal. So she travels to this other town on a train to meet her friends for lunch. One of them doesn't turn up, so you kind of have to find her. There's this little gang you interact with who has melon seeds, and then one of them gets arrested, and then they have to try to escape. And it's kind of zany, but it's really fun and interesting. And there's a concert going on in town with this hamster. It's just this whole thing. It's just way too much. But it's really, really cool. It's well designed. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to be writing my review up very, very soon on that one, so watch out for that. I think if you like kind of these interactive stories with this really cool old school aesthetic, you'll dig it. It's a little like, do you know what it reminds me of? It now I can't think of the name. It's like Mother. There's the Mother series where you're like in a top-down world interacting with people and just figuring out what the heck is going on. Yeah, it's it's really interesting. So that's a title I'm really enjoying. The other one that
sounds really creative.
Yeah, it is really creative. I think the developers have done a great job with this one. I'm really impressed. I think Xseed is the publisher. Anyway, they've done a fantastic job with this one. I hope to see more in this world because it's a standout title. It's just not like everything else that's out there. And I mean, we've mentioned this before. Every week on the Nintendo eShop, there's like 20 odd games that come out. So how can you play them all? You just can't. You really, really can't. And that's a shame because there's some real gems out there. So that's why I like to highlight games like this when I get the chance to, because I think it's worth your time. So yeah, definitely watch my review. It'll be up very soon in the next few days after this podcast airs. The other game that I'm playing, which I've just started and really just scratched the surface of, is called Nuclear Blaze. And I was really looking forward to this one because it reminds me. So in this game, you're a firefighter. Essentially, you're putting out fires. It's a platformer, sort of side-scrolling 2D affair, and you walk along and you have a hose. It's got a meter on it, so you run out of water, but it looks like there's little points on the way where you can fill up your tank. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I'm very, 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 very much only just started this game, but it looks like I'm investigating a facility and there's secrets to uncover. I found a key. There's a room that I've opened up and there's a cat that I need to rescue, which I'm just trying to find how to get to that cat at the moment. And what I love so far is that you're a firefighter. You've obviously got a team back at wherever this main explosion is or something, and you're investigating on your own, but you've got radio contact. And so it keeps doing this little come in, commander, whatever it is. And it's not commander, but, officer, I don't know what the words are. But it's like you have this communication going on back and forth between you and your chief or whomever you're speaking to. And I really like that aspect. It feels like you're really in danger or not. I mean, you're a firefighter, so you're a brave sort of person, a hero-esque type person, but you're right in the middle of a bit of a disaster area. And it feels very real time, I suppose. Like it feels like this is happening now. Fire is a very real danger, and you see it all around you in this game. And I just want to put it out. Like it's pretty satisfying to just hose out a fire, I think. So it strongly reminds me of something I played a long time ago on the Super Nintendo, and I was trying to find it before the show, and I think it's called The Fireman. I'm not sure, but it was something I played and had a lot of fun with, where you were firefighters again in a building and putting out fires, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I think that one was a top-down affair. This one is the side scroller. I'm a huge platforming fan, so for me, this genre is perfect. And yeah, so far limited time, but very much looking good. So that one, hopefully, and yeah, that will be out. That review will be out towards the end of this week, and I'm very much looking forward to playing some more of that. After the show, actually,
Yeah,
I'll probably just jump back into that. So.
and I did take a look at this when I saw that this first came out. I know that a couple interesting things about this game too is first, it was created by the creator of Dead Cells.
Right.
So now I haven't played that, but I know that was a very well received game. So if there's anyone's listening who enjoyed Dead Cells, then it's from the same person, same kind of vibe.
Cool.
So you better check that out. And there are 2 game modes to it. Aside from the normal play, there's something called Hold My Beer mode, which is only unlocked after you've completed the main story once. It sounds like that's something that's going to make it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, and this is what I like too, there's a mode called Kid Mode, which is a shorter experience made for kids who haven't or aren't good at video games, but eases it a bit so they can play through it. I think having gone through that age recently with some of my children, the idea of having very simple modes to games, I think, is fantastic for them. So, they can watch me play, my kids could watch me play and then do it themselves and be able to go through it without having the frustration of dying constantly.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, actually, I did notice I haven't tried those modes because, as you said, I think the Hold My Beer mode is not available. I didn't test that theory, but I do think I remember reading that as well. It's not available till after you complete the game.
Yeah.
And I will give the kids mode a test as well, just to see what that's like. I think that's actually a really, really awesome idea. I suppose it's akin to having difficulty levels, easy, medium, hard, but this is a different way of doing it, where I think it's going to present, a much simpler version that the kids can enjoy without getting frustrated. And I love that accessibility feature. I think that's great. Yeah, really, really cool. So definitely look forward to that one. Watch my review. And I mean, there's so many other games that we're playing, and I did touch on this last week, but I've been a bit obsessed with Advance Wars. So it's just so much fun. Talking about mobile games, Advance Wars probably would make for a good mobile game, I think, because it is so Fire Emblem-esque. And do you think that works well on a touchscreen, on a mobile screen? Fire Emblem Heroes? Yeah. I think Advance Wars would translate well.
There was Fire Emblem Hero, because I know Advance Wars, you get those big maps and moving around. They took a different approach with Fire Emblem Heroes, where they made very tiny little, you're going to finish it in 2 or 3 moves battles. Yeah. There was another game, kind of like Advance Wars and kind of like Fire Emblem Heroes, I used to play. Speaking of games that were free to play and then disappeared on me, there was one called Phantom of the Kill. Which I love to play on the iPad. And it was more like Advance Wars or a true Fire Emblem game until it disappeared. I know it can be done. Yeah, that's it. They should do that. Or why are the Advance Wars games not available on Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Online?
That is a good question. And I had thought the same thing myself, because obviously we do have Game Boy Advance games now. So it feels like, why do we have an $80 game of 2 Game Boy Advance games that we could just have on the Switch Online library? Yeah.
Some of the early Game Boy Fire Emblem games are on the Switch Online, aren't they? I remember I played them on the Wii U. I haven't checked. Or like the original Sacred Stones. I'll have to look up and see if that's available.
Yeah. And I think, the Game Boy Advance was great anyway. It was pretty much Super Nintendo style graphics, like 16-bit. Yeah. I don't think there'd be a problem. Even we have NES games anyway. I don't think anyone complains about the graphics, because it is what it is. It's like a time capsule, right? And these games looked great back in the day anyway. And you're playing a retro game, you have retro graphics, but the gameplay itself hasn't changed. Advance Wars 1 and 2, the game is the same on the Switch. This remastered version, it's the same. You might have some extra missions, and maybe there's some online interactivity and stuff like that, which is cool, but I would have preferred to have seen like a whole new entry personally.
Right.
That's probably my only disappointment. I'm like I'm glad they've bundled 2 games together. They are great games. They're super fun. There's a lot of time to be sunk into them. Like I'm only halfway through the first campaign and I've spent many, many hours. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But why not give us a new game after so many years of not seeing Advance Wars? That's probably my one disappointment that I haven't really aired. I've sort of kept that to myself, but since we're talking about it, yeah, why?
Well, maybe if it sells well enough, they've now got the engine in place, everything's ready to go. They just need to create some new maps and a new story, and off we run. So
yeah, and maybe
everybody go buy it so Jemma can get her sequel.
Thank you. Yes, please. And I mean, I guess I suppose they could do DLC if they wanted to, right? Like they could add something to it that's new. Why not? It's kind of the way of the world now. So yeah, but it's a minor complaint, I think. It's, the games are 20 years old or thereabouts. Yeah, I think they're about 20 years old. So a lot of people won't have played them. So I hope that it does find a whole new audience. I mean, I have told that I said last week how obsessed I am with Advance Wars and hearing news about new games. I have told my kids about this game. I'm like, you will love this game when it eventually ever is resurrected. And so, and I have got my eldest into it. He's been playing it with me, which is cool. But yeah, it would be nice to see some fresh, new stories to go with a new game. But anyway, it's a minor complaint. I'm happy to have something. And I mean, when did the Game Boy Advance stuff hit the Switch Online? That was relatively recently.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think because I went through, I'd say about just a couple years at most.
I don't even think it was that long. But anyway, I mean, this game was delayed. It was meant to come out a year ago. I think Nintendo probably knew more than a year ago that they were bringing Game Boy Advance games to the Switch. I think that kind of development takes time. So it is a good question. It's a very good question, and I don't know the answer, but here we are. So it would be funny though, not funny haha, but kind of annoying funny if they did then go and they wouldn't release these games on the Switch Online library having just ported them.
I can't imagine having, because that's it's an expensive package, right? For those 2 games, is it a $50 package?
Yeah, well, for me it was more, but that's I guess I'm talking Australian dollars. But yeah, I think it's a full priced kind of AAA, sort of level of game price that we're talking.
That would kind of be a slap in the face if they then turned around and made it free to everybody who's already subscribing.
Yeah. And I mean, I was probably a little surprised at the price as well. I thought maybe it would be on the slightly cheaper side, like not cheap, but not full price, like not Mario price. But anyway, it is what it is. And I had it pre-ordered for the last 12 months. So I definitely picked it up when it came out. So yeah, I'm a fan. Let's just say that. So I think that's kind of all that I had on my list. What else? Is there anything else that you have gaming-wise you would like to tell us about?
Well, I don't have anything specific because right now what I'm doing is going through a whole bunch of things that I kind of left open. I want to get everything wrapped up. And again, we're going back to Zelda. But, clearing things off the plate so that when that arrives that Friday morning, I'm going to be all set to go. Knowing that, obviously when you get like a Zelda game that's going to take up so much time, it's not the only game you play, or at least I hope not. You need a break and you need to move on to other things, but those other things are going to be my reviews for Peter Nintendo. So the stuff I'm doing for my own enjoyment, I'm cleaning
putting
out.
That on hold. Yeah, nice. Yeah. I love that. It sounds very organized. I'd like to know what other people are doing pre Tears of the Kingdom. How are people preparing for this event? Because it is an event. This is a huge event. And I'm probably not as well organized. I don't think Advance Wars will be finished by then. I'll do my best, but we'll see.
I'm being optimistic when I say I'm finishing everything up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which review games we have at that time, because it'll be hard to find that time, I suppose. All right, time to take a break from Tears of the Kingdom and to play this review title and think about Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, although the problem with me too is that the moment I take breaks and move on to other games, then Sam's going to get so far ahead of me that he'll be making fun of me. Like, he'll walk in and say, "This is all you've done." I beat that 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh man, my kid's giving me grief. Show some respect for your old man.
Exactly. Yes. Come on, Sam. Sam, I am. Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for your time today. I think that's we'll wrap it up there. And hopefully, listeners have found some new games to try out. If it's along the lines of Amiga Strikers or Melon Journey or Nuclear Blaze or even Xenoblade 3 or Advance Wars, the bigger ones as well. We love talking about games. So, if you have something you want us to talk about, please let us know. You can follow us over on Twitter at Pure Nintendo. We're also putting out a bi-monthly magazine, so you can support that. It's a physical magazine that we're sending out. We're working on the next issue right now, and you can support us at patreon.com/Pure Nintendo. Please support this show as well. To give us a like or a subscribe on whatever platform you're listening or watching this on. And thank you so much for taking the time out to give us a watch or listen today. Thank you, Kirk, for joining me on this show.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll be back for more fun and games next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.